Welcome to Railfans. I'm Shane Sege. Join us as we discover the Ottawa O train, Toronto subway, and Montreal metro systems together. I'm Shane Sege, and joining me today is Jeff, also known as J.OT13 on the Railfans community, and an avid O train enthusiast and transit enthusiast. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
So today we're going to be talking about the O train Line 1 stations, so the stations that were built in Stage 1. There's 13 stations going from Blair in the east all the way to Tunney's Pasture in the west. And the goal of our discussion today is we're going to be talking about at least 3 things that we like about each station and some things that we would have hoped have been done differently or things that we don't like. So just to give a bit of a critique on the stations that we're able to access and make use of today. So let's start off with Blair Station. So Blair Station is the eastern terminus. It's a center platform. It's important to note that it's currently a terminus station until Stage 2 opens, where it will then just be a regular pass-through station on the way to Orleans. What do you think of Blair Station? What are 3 things that really stand out for you that you like?
In terms of what I like of the station, and this is going to come up a lot, the artwork is quite nice. It really gives an atmosphere to the station, gives it distinction. Otherwise, the center platform is easy to shift depending on which side the train will be on, and the connection to the bus platform as well. You don't have to walk too far. The fare paid zone is very much appreciated.
The way that they also incorporated the old transitway station into the new station, I mean, that could have gone multiple ways. That could either been really badly done. I think that they reached a really nice balance with incorporating the old with the new. Obviously, there's probably a cost savings associated with having retained some of the structure rather than just starting back over. But the way that it's integrated, I like the overpass, how you can pass right through on top, how it's still the original concrete thing there. So the way that they integrated the old into the new at that station, I find was really well done. The artwork is really neat.
In terms of criticism, I'd say there's a bit of a lack of vertical circulation between the train platform and the bus platform. I know that they discussed for a while the possible addition of a third set of stairs. I think they went against that finally, probably because of COVID and the expected lower ridership after the pandemic. So at the end of the day, what we have now might suffice until the line is extended to Orleans.
The entrance by the Gloucester Centre being only one elevator, that is problematic. They're working on replacing that. There's no timeline on that, so that would improve at that point. And for people that follow city development, I know we're both on the Skyscraper Forum. There's developments at the Gloucester Centre where there's going to be high rises and different residential, commercial developments. That whole area is going to get fixed up. It would seem like a pedestrian connection right into the Gloucester Centre will be part of that future. So now if we hop on the train and we head west to Cyrville Station, which is probably very reminiscent to Bazarian subway station in Toronto as being one of the lowest ridership. Again, there's some developments around there, so that might not always be the case, but currently it's among the lowest. That's also a nice station. It has some neat artwork at the end with the I think they're sort of like silver looking pines or sort of like a metallic tree structure. But what I find really interesting is that depending on which side of the platform you're standing on, so let's say you're on the eastbound side or the westbound side, it has a different feel because of the grass and the the vegetation around the station.
If they could add a crosswalk between the two entrances, even one of those new ones where you just press a button and there's the yellow flashing light I think that would be a major improvement for a fairly low price.
Now we head again westward towards St-Laurent Station. Now this station right here, it's hard not to get into the criticisms right from the start. Because again, like Blair, it's one of those two stations that retained a lot of the legacy elements. Although I find in this case it kind of dampens what could have been something else. And the artwork is actually really nice and very elaborate and very decorative, very eye-catching, being from floor to ceiling, especially around the main greater section there where the fare gates are, near the platforms. But my criticism really is that retaining the old structure, so the old pedestrian overpass to cross from eastbound to westbound, retaining the old elevators. I think this was done because they couldn't close the bus platform that's located right above, so there was a limit to, and to integrate the old from that bus station into the new underneath, I think played into it, but it just feels really unfinished. It's not a bad station by any means, but it's a station that, with the amount of space that there was available, and the potential to redo the whole thing, obviously the limitation of having to keep the buses going above certainly played into that, but I would say that would be my lowest point of all the stations, really, because of the legacy elements weighing it down.
Yeah, I do appreciate that it's an underground station. It's nice to be fully protected from the elements. I do also kind of like the tunnel that connects the station to Tremblay Road. Although I can see, some people might have some safety concerns because it's a bit isolated. The murals are quite nice, and it's still a good access to that part of town. In terms of the bus deck top level, I have heard that they are planning on redoing that at some point. There is a major federal development proposed across the Queensway on Tremblay at Saint-Laurent. So maybe at that point, when they build a pedestrian bridge to the station, it might be a good time to redo the entire upper deck for the buses.
So we'll move again west towards Tremblay Station. Again, similar to Cyrville, it's not a busy station.
Tremblay Station is an excellent introduction to the city for tourists coming in by train. Like I say, a very grand station. You come in open, airy, bright. Again, the artwork is very nice. I'm very happy that they did build the max keeping bridge to at least connect to the baseball stadium. Looking forward to the Ottawa Titans starting their first season. I guess it's going to be next year now, unfortunately, but definitely I'll be using that station a lot to go watch some baseball. If they could do some connections, to the Via Rail station itself isn't too bad if you compare to like Vancouver and their station with Science Center Main. It's similar distance. Really, the connection to train yards. That's very the limiting factor for me for that station.
I personally like Tremblay because of the way it's designed. It's a little misleading when you're approaching it from outside to enter. You don't know what to expect from the outside. It just looks fairly ordinary, but as soon as you get in, how the roof is really sweeps down, how you have clear views to the sides. Of course, the glass canopy is where the artwork is. Those flowers and leaves and grass and vegetation, that it's like a mirrored paneling that sort of tilts down, and that's actually held up quite well over the past 2 years. I was by there recently, and it doesn't look like anything has broken off or come off or anything. So it's good to see that that's holding up, because that's actually really nice to look at it. It's interesting that it's outside and not in the inside of the station, but it's really eye-catching and all that. The connection to the train yards shopping plaza on the opposite side of the Via Rail probably plays into lower ridership. If it had a more direct connection, either a tunnel underneath or a pedestrian overpass above, some way to get there, we would probably see a lot more people coming through that station to utilize it to access that important shopping plaza. So next station we'll talk about is Hurdman. That's an important station, being a transfer station to the southeast transitway going down towards the airport or South Keys and destinations beyond. This station, from the arrival of the O train, has seen a dramatic change. It used to be an island bus station, and now it's like a bus loop around that's quite expansive and quite long, and an elevated train station, which is very interesting to see. It run alongside the multi-use pathways. There's a pathway connection through underneath the station. Lots of interesting viewpoints from the station. You can see the downtown Ottawa. You can see the buses underneath. It's really a spectacular station in that sense. There's lots of vertical circulation. There's going to be station retail in the form of Happy Goat Coffee down on the main level at some point. We're not exactly sure when that's going to open, but stands to reason in the somewhat near future. And of course the nearby apartments and condos definitely see a lot of foot traffic into there, but it's mostly a transfer station between the main line and the existing bus. So I know that a lot of people, depending on what bus you take, the biggest criticism is that it's out in the open for the bus stops underneath. I think the bus platform really is the sticking point at this place for some people, especially if you're at the D stop or farther around the corner. It's quite a long jog from where you come off the train and getting over there. But otherwise, a really nice station.
In terms of the O train station itself, I really don't have much criticism. There's plenty of coverage. Vertical circulation, washrooms are always very much appreciated. But yeah, so the bus loop, if there was a way to do it a little bit more like Toronto, have it go around the station so that the seating area was inside. And of course, the Hurdman curve, which creates a lot of vibrations. And even OC Transpo seems to acknowledge that that is going to be a long-term issue. But of course, as you say, depends on what their agreement was with the NCC. They might have had a lot of limiting factors for that. So, they did probably the best they could with what they had. But overall, still a great station, plenty of space for the high number of transfers.
Now moving more west to Lyon Station, this again is a station that sort of has a similar feel to what it used to be, but with the new station structure. Multi-use pathway on the side. It's an interesting station though, with the bird motif that light up on the side walls of the platform level. The vantage point that you can see looking down at the trains coming and going from the station. And of course the multi-use pathway that runs alongside that you can now reach all the way to Hurdman and up to uOttawa via this pathway. That's a really nice addition. Vertical circulation is good. Artwork is also really interesting. The canopies, glass canopies over the platform level, have a bluish green foresty nature leafy motif to them that provides like a neat ambience to the station. But I guess a negative comment would be the lack of connection from the multi-use pathway into the station is definitely a little problematic.
Yeah, for sure. For the multi-use pathway, some sort of accessibility feature to get to street level, or even opening a little bit of the wall for fare gate so you can get directly on the platform. Of course, if you had to go east, you would still have to go up to the concourse and back, but it would be some sort of an improvement. Same with the Robinson Road area and the Lees campus of the University of Ottawa. There could be a little bit more access, but overall still very good station. Urban, it serves the Lees campus and the nearby apartments, which are largely occupied by students of the University of Ottawa and l'Institut collégial. Yeah, I think that's a very well-used station, well-built, well-designed.
Now, next station is uOttawa, which used to be Campus Station. The station also in pretty much the same location as the original Transitway station. Tunnel pedestrian connectivity from underneath. Although the pedestrian connection has been enlarged, widened, it's a lot brighter. It used to be really dingy. I remember it having tiles on the side walls that's sort of reminiscent of an old 1960s hospital. So it definitely has a better feel to it, definitely safer. Artwork in the tunnel section is a collection of portraits that follow you. It has like that holographic feel to it. When you move, it's like the faces are staring at you, which is kind of eerie and interesting at the same time. The entrance from, again, the tunnel, lots of fare gates, wide open. Definitely, I personally, from a visual perspective, that entrance is actually very interesting to me because it really has that big city metro, subway, rapid transit feel to it, with how expansive it is and how wide it is, and the marquee right on top with the name. So obviously the criticism to that station, the small stairwells to switch from one platform to the other. There's a stairwell at the opposite end. Again, I think it's just an emergency exit. Could have been better utilized to allow people to connect between both sides, but that would be the biggest criticism. And I know that station can be very busy, so that would have been appreciated to have a little more space to transit between both sides.
Yeah, the station is highly visible, great access to University of Ottawa, the canal, and the pathway system. Like you said, I have heard a lot of criticism for the eastbound platform, that there's just a one set of stairs and the two elevators, and it would be nice if they could make that emergency exit just a regular exit with fare gates, to provide a little bit more accessibility, a little bit more flow through the station. But yeah, otherwise it is quite a nice station, very, very large, very prominent. Good size for the high volumes from the University of Ottawa.
So moving on to Rideau Station. That's obviously, now we're getting into the exciting stuff. Because this is now these are the three stations where the biggest change to transit and the biggest change to the city has taken place, being underground, Rideau being the deepest. So there's plenty of exciting things to say about Rideau. It's deep. The ceiling, the station cavern itself is incredibly vast. The soaring ceiling, when you're on the platform, to look up and see that and how much space there is in there. It's truly astounding that this is underground. And I think the platforms are about 26 meters below ground. That's about 60 some feet below street level. That's pretty impressive. The station also features the longest escalator in a Canadian transit system, a single escalator. So it's an interesting ride to get down to the station. That has a really nice community public artwork space. I think it's corridor 4575. That there's a lot of interesting exhibits that have been there over time. The opportunity when you're on the concourse level, at both ends there's glass where you can actually see down to see the trains. It's the only station out of the three downtown underground stations where you can actually see the trains from above. That gives it sort of a Montreal Metro feel where you can see the trains coming and going. It's very interesting to see that. So I definitely really find that station impressive. 2 points that I would criticize, and I'm sure you know what I'm going to say. The connectivity between the, let's say, Rideau Street Sussex entrance and the Waller Street Byward Market entrance. There's no real legitimate connection between both. If you want to come from one and exit to the other, you have to go through the fare gates, take the stairs or elevator down to the platform, cross the platform, come back up the elevator or stairs at the opposite end. There's no complete pass through. The other point I would make about it is that people get confused how to get to the platform incidentally, because and I'm sure you've done it too. I've done it. I mean, you can ride it many times and you still make the same mistake. You pass through the fare gates and straight ahead you'll see escalators, but those escalators don't go down, they come up. So people often get the turnaround when they see that. They get confused, when in reality the elevator is straight ahead, but the stairs to go down, as soon as you pass through the gate, you have to do a 180 and turn back the opposite way to the side to get down to the platform. So definitely confusing choice with that. Throws people off all the time. I've ridden it many times. I'm sure you've ridden it many times. Throws even the best of us off.
It doesn't help that there's a sign over those escalators that say, line 1 eastbound, line 1 westbound. If they remove the signs or if they change the signs to, say that there's no access there, it would help. So going back to the positives, I really appreciate the 4 entrances to the Rideau Station. It's the most entrances of any station as far as I know off the top of my head. So you have, of course, the William Street entrance. You have the elevator entrance in the Rideau Center. You have the ones next to the Shoppers and Farm Boy, and Rideau and Sussex. So definitely that's really nice to have. It's always very visual, very easy to see. Another thing I appreciate, and I assume that's because of the depth of the station, they put double escalators everywhere except to the platform level. So that's also very nice, because even going down so many stairs, especially the William entrance where you spiral around, it's a nice break to be able to just stop and wait for the escalator to do its job. One criticism would be with having those 2 separate concourses that aren't connected. They each have 1 elevator to the platform. So if one of them breaks down, you basically have to go down the other elevator to the other platform, up to the other concourse, and come back around. So it might have been worth the investment of having those extra elevators so that you have double at each concourse for a total of 8 from concourse to platform. But otherwise, very beautiful station, grand. It really is the signature station of the system.
Following Rideau, we find ourselves at Parliament Station. Again, another really nice visually appealing station. I kind of find it to be among my favorite, if not my favorite. The artwork on the ceiling on the concourse with the multicolored mosaic tiles is really eye-catching, bright, colorful. I find that to be just really a highlight, standout piece of artwork installed in the station, and as well the artwork that's installed on the platform level between the 2 tracks, the divider fence, let's say. That is actually evocative of each of the different provinces, the different types of flora, vegetation, or flowers native to those provinces. I believe each one represents a province or territory, and it definitely stands out. It's green, it's bright, it's easily spotted. I also like with Parliament that it has really good connectivity to the adjacent buildings. So the Sun Life Financial Center, to the Winners, the 155 Queen Heritage Building. So it sort of creates that Montreal underground city réseau kind of feeling. You could go in from, let's say, Spark Street at Winners, pass through, come out into the Sun Life Financial Center without having to pass through any fare gates. It's the only one downtown that you can pass from one entrance to the other without having to pass through fare gates. So it has that really Montreal feel to it. So definitely hoping in the future that that station has one, ambience, either with buskers or some kind of retail presence or something to really anchor and create like a constant ambience or sort of like an interruption to the general flow and go of the passengers. I don't really have any negative criticism. It's more to do with just being, again, a big fan of Montreal's metro and that ESO, an underground city, to have seen this station connect with more adjacent buildings. That would be something I'd like to see. The World Exchange, I believe in the earlier renders, the entrance outside, instead of being in front of the Sun Life building, it was going to be just in front of the TD Bank at the World Exchange. Again, there's an expansive parking garage under the World Exchange. There's an expansive set of ramps for the loading docks and whatnot. So how that played into it, we'll never know, but it would have been nice to have seen that building connect.
Yeah, for Parliament, the number of fare vending machines is really nice to have. Going back to Rideau, I think there are just 2 on each concourse, but Parliament has around 12. So with how busy it is, everybody can get to the vending machines and they don't have to wait in line. So that's very much appreciated. Like I said, the artwork, the colored ceiling is just beautiful. You got double escalators on one side to the winners. Same criticism as you in terms of connection to the World Exchange Plaza. So at the moment, O'Connor Street is more or less the middle of downtown, and all of the entrances are on the west of O'Connor Street. So it would have been nice to have at least one to the east, and the World Exchange Plaza would be the most logical place to do that. If it was somehow possible, they might have to give up a little bit of parking or relocate the TD Bank. But if that can be done at some point in the future, that would be very helpful to better access that side of downtown.
So moving on to Lyon Station, just down probably 600-700 meters down Queen Street. That one is connected to Place de Ville. They did work in the parking garage to facilitate that connection. So part of it got closed off to allow that to connect and to allow the station building to be built in the ground floor of the podium building. That station, again, like Parliament, big, vast. The concourse level is really, really, really open, large, plenty of space. Elevators are centrally located. The color scheme, the brightness, the openness of that station is really inviting. And it has more stairs on the Place de Ville side. So there's stairs when you come through the fare gate that go straight down and that come the opposite way. So there's 4 on that side. The opposite side only has 2. But I expect that they anticipate that the Place de Ville entrance side would see more passenger flow. My criticism to that station would be 2 points. You can get confused when you come up. Is that Place de Ville? Is it over there? I don't know. So the signage is clear enough, but you have to look. One, you have to look for the signage. So depending on where you are, and if you misinterpret it, you'll come out the wrong entrance. Again, not the end of the world, but it really does have a mirror look to it from one end of the concourse to the others. And my other point would be more directed towards Place de Ville. Big missed opportunity. Why that place wasn't renovated? They had so many years to renovate it. It still is under renovation. It's not even clear what's going on. There's ceiling tiles missing. There's light fixtures hanging. Such an opportunity to have stores, more retail. That place has been dwindling for years. And to just see the significant missed opportunity there to have revitalized that. You could probably put stores in there, and they would have a chance at success because of the people coming in and out of that station.
In terms of the station itself, I think it has probably the clearest entrances of any other underground stations, with the podium and the one that's under Claridge Moon, currently under construction. Um, very good amount of vertical circulation, double elevators at both stations, which is something a bit lacking at Parliament, where you just have two elevators to the concourse level, while this one has four, and so does Rideau. The concourse, very open and grand. That mirror image can be confusing. I think the only way you can distinguish really is with the number of fare vending machines. I think one side has fewer than the other. I just sort of realized that as we were discussing it. Otherwise, from the platform to plenty of stairs and escalators. So even if the platform is a little bit narrow compared to, say, Montreal, with all that vertical circulation, it doesn't prevent people from getting out, quickly and safely. In terms of connections to buildings, Place de Ville, very disappointing that they still really haven't done much. The renovations to the concourse level of Place de Ville 1, from that pink marble to the white. Honestly, I preferred the pink. I think it was more, the original 1960s vibe, and now it's just very, plain and mediocre. I would love to see the C.D. Howe building across the street connect to the Marriott Hotel and the Place de Ville Underground Concourse. And same from the south side, connecting Constitution Square and Minto Place. That way you could have like sort of an L underground city to, clear the sidewalks a little bit, which are, quite busy at such an important station, with also the STO as its main transfer station between buses and the O train. Otherwise, in terms of the station itself, I think it's probably one of my favorite ones. The best layout, the best design, simplest, cleanest station around.
Now the next station is Pimisi. It used to be called Le Breton. That was a pretty basic looking transitway stop on the line before, consisting mainly of, more elaborate bus shelters in the form of like a transitway light kind of station. That station is now transformed significantly into potentially the station with the most exciting, interesting, appealing artwork out of any of them. And it remains to be seen if any of the Stage 2 stations are going to have anything that approaches this. The amount of artwork in the station is phenomenal. From the canoes from the ceiling, the paddles that are all intricately painted, hanging around the canoe from the ceiling, from the platform level. The artwork outside, the eel in the aqueduct. There's probably 4, 5, 6 different things of Algonquin tradition that have been incorporated into this station. So it's great to see even the name of the station. To have talked to the Algonquin communities, to have their input and to have their culture reflect into the station, I think is really something that should be commended. And how much of it is presented there. It's just such a beautiful station to go to and to see. The artwork, how it just embellishes and enriches that station. Honestly, there's not really much you can say negative about that station. It's just so well thought out, well positioned, visually appealing. Definitely, from a visual sense, probably the top station, if not among the top 3 at the very least.
Yeah, the artwork is absolutely amazing. I remember when they made the call out for artists originally, they had different themes for the central stations. And a lot of them, honestly, I don't really see the theme reflected into the artwork. Not that the artwork is beautiful throughout the system, but the themes were not always respected as they could have been, but for Pimisi, they nailed it. Absolutely did an excellent job in meeting those criteria for the Algonquin theme. So many different pieces, so many visuals. In terms of the size of the station, of course, right now it's not well used because it's a little bit in the middle of nowhere, but they really thought of the future volumes with that new library and the Brent Flats development and the arena that we may or may not ever have. And of course, Blues Fest, which hopefully we'll get next year, same with Canada Day. It's definitely built for those future volumes. So the city did a great job in looking into the future for that station. Another thing that's worth noting, of course, is the NCC is currently looking for a developer for the land directly adjacent. So the developer may or may not integrate the west entrance into the development. So that's going to be an interesting to watch over the next couple of months. I believe we should get something early 2022. We should get some sort of an idea of what's going there. Looking forward to that.
Continue on now to Bayview Station. That station existed before. Again, another station that has seen a massive transformation. It was very basic in its original incarnation and has transformed significantly from what was essentially simple bus stop shelters for the transitway and wooden paved platform for the, at the time, original O train. It's now become much more, definitely deeply connected between Line 1 and Line 2 for transfers, vertical circulation. It's direct now. It's not a long walk around where you could see the train and end up missing it because you weren't running fast enough. So definitely the connection between both. Easier, shorter, definitely safer than it ever was. There's some artwork in and around the station, those blue teardrops that also can function as benches for people to sit on the bottom part of them as well. The views from the station looking east or west are also very interesting. And being able to see the Line 2 trains, the diesel trains coming in from underneath is also fun if you want to rail fan or train spot. Station also has public washrooms. The Trillium pathway comes next to it. The station also is going to be seeing significant changes over the next year and a half leading up to stage 2 due to it now, it will have 2 platforms for Line 2. In most cases, only the one platform will be used actively. The other platform will be for either storing a train or for emergency use or whatnot. So we won't necessarily see much of that. But the lands adjacent to the station, so the Trinity Towers, which will be 60 some stories tall, those will be the tallest buildings in the city upon completion. Probably for the foreseeable future, unless someone comes with something even grander than that. That's going to be definitely a landmark development in the city, with retail, office, and commercial. So it's definitely potentially a quiet station right now. That's definitely not going to be the case, 5-10 years from now.
Yeah, the increase of ridership for Line 2 once the Confederation Line opened really speaks to the importance of the Confederation Line itself. I believe ridership went from 12,000 a day to 20,000 a day over those first couple of months while it was open, before the pandemic. Definitely that connection between the lower concourse level and the Confederation Line is very well thought out. Station again, very grand, very metro-like. my criticism would be, looking into the future. So I don't see how connecting an STO tram line to Bayview would have worked, because then you would have had, the O train and the OSTO line coming head to head. You would really need to extend the O train Trillium line to Gatineau instead. That way, Gatineau would have its own line going into Ottawa, and Ottawa would have its line going into Gatineau, serving different populations, working south, working east, west, and all of that. I do wonder how, with that second platform right now, the plan is to have people sort of walk at the end of the platform to cross onto the concourse level. So I do wonder, if the line is ever extended, how is that going to work? They will have to add vertical circulation to this new, northbound platform. There's a bit of a limited space. It would cut off the Trillium pathway. So it is interesting, if they've thought of that and how they will fix that when the time comes. But yeah, definitely they'll need to, build more elevators and more stairs to connect that new northbound platform up to the Confederation line. That way you have some stairs on both sides. But yeah, otherwise, again, great TOD opportunities. Good to see the Trinity development directly connect to the station. Lots of important retail in there that's being proposed, pharmacies and grocery stores and all that. Looking forward to seeing how this station evolves over the next year and a half and into the future with that possible extension to Gatineau.
And finally, the last one we're going to talk about today is Tunney's Pasture, which is currently the terminus station. That'll change hopefully in 2025 when the line gets extended further west to Moody and Algonquin. So talking about it now as a terminus station, very open concourse level, plenty of entrances. I believe that there's at least 3. So there's good connectivity into the station building itself. Good vertical circulation. It actually has escalators coming up from the platform level on one end of the platforms. And there's going to be station retail, which is really nice, so that'll create a nice ambience. The artwork is the ceiling, multicolored mosaic glass paneling, so it casts a nice colorful effect onto the floor of the concourse that changes and evolves as the day progresses. So that's really interesting to see. As well, the artwork on the platform level, it's a nice collection of small colored tiles that really embellish, brighten that area up. That could have been rather dark and drab. It's really colorful, bright, inviting. Lots of lighting for nighttime. Create some great spectacular photos if that's what you're looking for. I don't know if that's necessarily an advantage to a station, but there's been plenty of photos taken of that station for just how nice it looks in the winter. Good vertical circulation, lots of space. There's 2 points of criticism. Now, these points won't be really an issue come stage 2. One is that it's currently a terminus. A terminus would have been better served as a center platform. Right now it's 2 side platforms. Obviously, the side platforms make sense come stage 2. But right now I know that there can be some confusion when people come down to the train or want to go down to the train. Is it going to be arriving at platform 1? Is it going to be arriving at platform 2? Which one is platform 1? Which one is platform 2? They've put additional signage to make that a little more clear. Initially that was a little confusing, so that's been improved upon. The bus loop, being that it is the terminus and that pretty much all the West End buses connect into this one station, has to be big and expansive. It can be quite a walk from one end of the bus loop to the other, so I know that they have put in temporary canopies. They want to put in a more permanent canopy on the platform side that's adjacent to the building, because that will remain post stage 2 once that opens. But otherwise, it's a good station. It provides good connectivity to the Tunney's Pasture complex, which is a big employment center for federal government employees, Health Canada among others. So there's a lot of people that converge on that point. Those 2 points really are just short-lived for a couple years. So,
starting with platform level, the side platforms are quite wide compared to every other station. So they did seem to anticipate that high volume of transfers with that. Like I say, it's unfortunate it's not a center platform, but at the same time, this is a better design for stage 2 and onwards. So short-term pain for long-term gain. Large washroom facilities. It's interesting that they put the washrooms at the platform level on the westbound platform instead of trying a way to put it at the concourse level. But again, at least there are washrooms, so that's the important part. Definitely the artwork provides a nice splash of color that is a little bit lacking in certain other stations. That's a very nice visual. Concourse level, very large and open. The Happy Go coffee will be appreciated. It's sort of centrally located at the end of the concourse. It's not in the way, but it's going to be easy to see. The head house itself, from Scott Street, especially at night, very large, very visible. It really announces the presence of transit in the area. Plenty of towers proposed all around. So even after stage 2, of course, with Tunney's Pasture, but with all the residential coming, should be quite a well-used station well into the future. It's actually quite close to Wellington West. People might not, think about it because, when you get out of that station, people just associate with Tunney's Pasture, but it's only, 300-400 meters to that traditional main street. So it would be nice to have on the map, the area map, sort of highlighting that traditional main street is there and it's accessible and it's a good place to go for a coffee, restaurant, shopping. Otherwise, great station. Bus loop. There are some improvements coming. They will be putting some more permanent structures around the bus loop over the next. We don't have quite an exact timeline yet, but hopefully within the next year.
So there you have it. So we have 13 stations open right now, soon to be over 40 in a couple years' time. So thank you again for your time, and have fun riding the rails.
Thank you.